Donald Trump guilty on all 34 counts against him in his hush money trial. Thank you so much for joining us at 6. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. The 12-person jury in New York determining that Trump participated in a scheme aimed at suppressing stories he feared could be harmful to his 2016 presidential run.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
That was former President Donald Trump reacting after the verdict was read. All 34 counts are felony counts related to accusations arising from reimbursements paid to then Trump lawyer Michael Cohen. This after he made a $130,000 hush money payment to adult film actor Stormy Daniels to silence her claims that she and Trump had sex back in 2006.
Let's go live right now to 7 News Detroit reporter Brett Cast.
He is in Warren getting reaction to this verdict, and it is certainly an historic one today. Brett?
It absolutely is, Carolyn. And Macomb County for the last 8 years or so has been a strong Trump county. Back in 2016, he won this county by 11 percentage points, 8 percentage points when he ran for re-election in 2020. So we decided to head here to Macomb County to hear from some voters. We did meet a lot of people who are adamantly opposed to Trump. We met some people who are supportive of Trump. But one thing we noticed about this verdict, many people have been following the trial, but they say their mind was made up even before this trial began. What was your reaction to hearing now he's guilty on all 34 counts?
Woo! Yes! I mean, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's garbage. That's what I think it is. I think it's just set up by the Democratic Party to persecute a candidate that they know has the ability to beat them.
Well, I think it was the facts. They got him, the paperwork, the checks, that's the evidence.
Yes, so not all of those people that we interviewed were here in Warren in Macomb County, but not everyone lives here in Macomb County. But those we spoke to all say, their mind has kind of been made up before this verdict was announced. So depending on where they lean, that's how they felt about this verdict. But everyone we asked said they do not think and really don't even hope that Trump will see prison time from this verdict here today. But for now, live in Warren, I'm Brett Cast, 7 News Detroit.
Okay, Brett, a lot of mixed reactions, and we know that you're staying on top of this evening. Thank you.
Well, we are joined now by a legal analyst to weigh in on this historic verdict. Former President Donald Trump, of course, found guilty on all 34 felony charges today. Stephen Winter, a professor of constitutional law at Wayne State University, is joining us now. Thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. Are you surprised the former president was found guilty on all 34 felony counts?
Actually, I'm not. I'm not the least surprised. I've been watching the news reports and following the trial, and I think the prosecution, did a very professional job and a sophisticated job. I don't think the defense matched the prosecution. I think the judge ran a very tight ship and did an incredibly professional job. And no, I'm actually not surprised at all.
Tell me what was key in this trial for you. I know yesterday, 4 hours into deliberations, the jury wanted to look back on testimony from David Pecker and Michael Cohen meeting at Trump Tower with the former president. I mean, when you heard them ask about that evidence, was that the tipping point?
That was not surprising that they would ask to hear some evidence again and hear the charges again. That's common. It was a complex enough case. I agree with you that the tipping point really was the Pecker testimony about the meeting, and that came early in the trial, of course, and that was, I think, the key to the prosecution's case. And I think it was very shrewd of them to put Pecker on first and Michael Cohen last. And conversely, I think it was just a total mistake on the Trump defense team to deny the undeniable. To claim nothing happened and he never met Stormy Daniels. It's the typical Trump strategy, but it's a terrible strategy with the jury because the jury hears the evidence directly and when you deny what they know to be true, then you're not helping your case. I mean,
And Stormy Daniels went on and on and on when she was on the witness stand. So what happens from here? Can the former president appeal this historic verdict, or?
Yeah, there will certainly be an appeal. I think there's some viable issues for him on appeal, particularly the statute has a fair amount of technicalities to it, and some of those technicalities give him a reasonable chance on appeal. The judge, his repeated claims the judge is conflicted, that's just nonsense. That's fluff. So the stuff that most people have heard about, it's not going to be the basis for the appeal. It's going to be the technical legal issues here.
7 men and 5 women made up this jury, including 2 attorneys, a teacher, 2 immigrants, a jury made up of people from the New York area. What did you think of this jury? I know the former president was complaining, but what did you think of the makeup of the jury?
I think it was, from what we can tell, a fairly sophisticated jury. For me, I'd say the most interesting thing was the New York Times ran an article early on after the jury was selected about where the jurors got their news. And the vast majority of them got their news from some reputable sources, not TikTok or Twitter, or now known as X, etc. So these were, thoughtful people who were relatively well informed. From what I can tell, the kind of people you'd want on a jury, right? I want to squeeze this in case we run out of time. It's a sad day for America. It's an historic day, but it's also a great day for the Constitution, for democracy. The idea that 12 ordinary citizens get to decide whether someone has broken the law, that only happens here. And that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel sad and emotional on a day like this that is certainly historic here in America. Stephen Winter, thank you so much for your time and your legal expertise today. We certainly appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, joining us now, Ken Coleman, a political science professor at the University of Michigan, joining us on the phone. And Ken, let's talk about the political implications from this verdict. What's your reaction first?
Well, this momentous event is certainly a pivotal moment in this election and in this in the campaigns of both of the major candidates. I can't imagine that this is going to do anything but hurt Donald Trump's campaign. It will embolden his hardcore supporters. It'll, the Republican Party will do what they can to frame this in a way that limits the damage. They'll frame the trial as corrupt and the judge is biased, and we'll hear that a lot. And that's what they have to do. That's not surprising. But you really need to focus on a set of voters that are going to determine this election, and the set of voters that maybe don't like either candidate. There's a lot of them that don't like either candidate. They're conflicted, but they're habitual voters. They vote in every election. And, we'll see how this cuts, but I can't imagine that that's going to help Donald Trump, and it seems likely it'll hurt him with that kind of voter. And then you got to focus on voters that, are not habitual voters, but may or may not turn out in elections. I can't imagine that this is going to increase their enthusiasm for voting for Donald Trump. So it's, it's hard to conclude anything other than this is a damaging day for Donald Trump's campaign. It's anybody's guess where this will land in November, but for the moment, it's very damaging.
Okay, Ken, well, we sure do appreciate your expertise on this. And of course, there's going to be a lot more questions in the days to come, so we'll definitely be checking back in with you. Thanks for your time.
All right, we are going to continue to follow this historic day and, of course, the verdict that came down on former President Donald Trump guilty on 34 felony counts. We will continue to cover it throughout the day and night.
Okay, protesters who were arrested have been released tonight after police dismantled the pro-Palestinian encampment at Wayne State University.
The protesters locked arms in a show of unity as they walked out of the Detroit Detention Center late this afternoon. Other protesters were there to greet them. They moved from campus to outside the jail after the raid.
Wayne State and Detroit police moved in early this morning to dismantle the encampment set up last week. They arrested 12 people.
They were doing a lot to people who were dispersing, which is not what's supposed to happen. When people disperse, they're supposed to be allowed to let go, but there are people outside of the encampment barriers being pushed to the ground and arrested violently.
Wayne State says the encampment was a public safety issue. Students vow to keep protesting as they push for the university's divestment from Israel.
Well, now to that viral video fallout after a man was seen driving during a virtual court hearing for driving on a suspended license. Today, Corey Harris talks about why he was behind the wheel, but he also says he should not have been charged in the first place.
And 7 News reporter Kimberly Craig talked to Harris and checked into that suspension.
After he was busted driving on a suspended license, Corey Harris had to report to the Washtenaw County Jail here. And today I asked him what everyone wants to know. What were you thinking?
What was I thinking? I was thinking about getting my wife medical help. That's what I was thinking.
Corey Harris said that's why he was behind the wheel earlier this month when he appeared before District Court Judge Cedric Simpson, who knew Harris was appearing on a charge of driving while license suspended.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second.
We spoke to Harris by phone today, and he said the doctor wanted to see his wife for some ongoing medical issues that had worsened, and he didn't think about anything but getting her there.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
Corey Harris was cited for driving while license suspended in Pittsfield Township back in October. He said it was suspended for unpaid child support. Secretary of State records show his license was first suspended for child support back in 2010. But Harris told us he thought his license had been reinstated.
They were supposed to have been lifted it two years ago, but they didn't.
And according to the Saginaw County court records we found, Harris is right. In January 2022, a judge rescinded that suspension on his license. But for some reason, that information never got to the Secretary of State, where even as of today, his license is still listed as suspended, the same records the judge was going by.
This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
It's very embarrassing. And with the type of ties that I have with the church and the community, it's very embarrassing.
Thursday afternoon, Harris told us he was going to the Secretary of State's office to try to straighten out everything between them and friend of the court once and for all.
Always double check behind these workers, because they will say that they will do something and they don't do it.
In Ann Arbor, Kimberly Craig, 7 News, Detroit.
Well, let's hope he gets that straightened out. Thank you, Kim. A second human case of the bird flu has been confirmed in Michigan tonight. The state says the patient is a farm worker who worked closely with infected cows. This involves a different dairy farm than the first Michigan case confirmed just 8 days ago. Health officials say the worker was given antiviral medications and is recovering from respiratory symptoms. The first human case was reported in Texas back in April. The CDC says the risk to the public remains low.
Okay, turning now to the forecast. Dave, it was a beautiful day today. Is that sunshine sticking around?
Yeah, fantastic. We've got dry weather until late Saturday. That's the next chance of rain. We'll talk about getting into the weekend, getting through it coming up.
All right, thank you, Rexy. And persistent power problems. New data is showing Michigan ranks 3rd in the U.S. for long power outages.
Typically it's 2 to 3 days, but it's been out as long as 2 weeks before.
Next, the 2 states ahead of us and the county that appears to get hit especially hard.
You're watching Channel 7, named Station of the Year by the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, awarded for excellence in broadcasting and serving our community at the highest level. With Michigan weather, there's always a story to tell.
My weather story goes all the way back to when I was a kid. Growing up here, I was always fascinated by it. I even interned under Jerry Hodak and Dave Rexroth. Now my forecasts are helping you slide through your mornings, sometimes literally. As a dad of two, I know how important it is to plan out your days. And every morning I'm helping you do just that with accuracy and detailed forecasts, making your days just a little bit easier.
Your weather story starts here. 7 First Alert Weather. Have a problem you want us to look into? Contact the 7 investigators. In your community, giving you a voice. Glenda Lewis, 7 News Detroit. This is Detroit. It's not your cookie-cutter kind of town. We got all kinds of different places, faces, and spaces. We put in the work, make time for the fun. We take pride, and we all have a voice. And at 7 News Detroit, your voice matters.
Welcome to 7 News Detroit at 6.
That's why we show up. To listen, to be there for you, to hear your side, your point of view on the big story and every story. This is 7 News Detroit. Start your mornings off right with 7 News This Morning. With Michigan weather, there's always a story to tell.
My story? I've been forecasting here for 24 years. I raised my family here. And just like you, I've been to every event, game, festival. I get how even the smallest disruption in the weather can impact what we love to do. And when I'm giving you the forecast, I keep that in mind. It's about your story of the day. I'll give it to you straight with accuracy and not overhyping. I think you appreciate that. And I know you deserve that.
Your weather story starts here. 7 First Alert Weather. Rain, heavy wind, chilly mornings, hot afternoons. Spring weather has the power to mix up your entire day, but the 7 First Alert Weather Team won't let it, preparing you ahead of time, tracking every change throughout the day, so you can plan for whatever weather comes, from what you wear to where you go. Because the only thing better than a perfect spring day is being able to get out and enjoy it. 7 First Alert Weather. We know Michigan weather. This is Detroit, where we all have a voice. And at 7 News Detroit, your voice matters.
Welcome to 7 News Detroit at 6.
That's why we show up, to hear your side on the big story and every story. This is 7 News Detroit. Spring weather has the power to mix up your entire day, but the 7 First Alert Weather Team won't let it, preparing you ahead of time so you can plan for whatever weather comes, from what you wear to where you go. Because the only thing better than a perfect spring day is being able to get out and enjoy it. 7 First Alert Weather. We know Michigan weather.
Persistent power problems are a huge source of frustration in just about every Metro Detroit community.
And if you feel like you lose electricity a lot, new data that looked at outages over the past 10 years shows that it's more than a feeling.
According to a new data set published on nature.com, only 2 other states in the nation, Louisiana and Maine, see longer outages than we do right here in Michigan. And Wayne County gets hit especially hard.
So tonight, 7 News Detroit's Whitney Burney talked to customers, utility advocates, DTE Energy, and the Attorney General to find out why and what can be done.
Phil Wakeford says in his Westland neighborhood,
we've been here for nearly 30 years.
It doesn't take much for them to lose power.
Every home on my street loses power minimum 6, 7, maybe 8 times per year. And the duration typically is 2 to 3 days, but it's been out as long as 2 weeks.
A challenge he's been facing since moving in decades ago, and he's not alone. According to a new data set tracking power outages county by county from 2014 to 2023, there are several counties in our state that see more outage days on average per year than most other states in the nation. Most notably in our area, Wayne County, Michigan's most populous county, it saw an annual average of 3.4 days in the dark. Compare that to the state average of 1.8 days a year.
We've known for several years that Michigan performs more poorly when compared to other Midwest states with similar weather, both when it comes to cost and reliability.
Journalist Sarah Alvarez with our partners at Outlier Media has been looking into the issue for years.
The answer is really in the grid. Our electricity grid is old and it costs money to keep it up. and to improve it and to cut all of the trees that could fall on those wires and take them down and cause power outages.
It's the reason advocates like Keith Cooley with the Citizens Utility Board have been pushing for upgrades.
Utility services for the average homeowner here are dismal.
Cooley says while Michigan customers are getting less, they're also paying more.
It turns out that customers in this area pay 18 cents a kilowatt hour. In Ohio, they pay 10 cents a kilowatt hour. In Illinois, it's 12, and in Indiana, it's 13 cents.
Attorney General Dana Nessel says there are steps utility companies should be taking to improve service.
There's really no incentive in Michigan for utilities to have better service performance, right? I mean, as long as they're making money, what do they care about how good their service is to any of their customers? Remember, this is a monopoly. It's a regulated monopoly. You don't get to choose who provides your electricity.
We do realize that last year was a challenging year. We had the ice storm in February, followed by almost concrete type snow. It was incredibly heavy, which caused some reliability issues. And then we had storms through the summer months that impacted our customers negatively as well.
Utility giant DTE says while extreme weather plays a factor in the number and length of outages, they are working to make upgrades to the grid with a 4-point plan, which includes trimming trees regularly, upgrading the existing 1 million power poles, and adding new technology.
The broader DT organization recognizes that we have work to do. Right? Our customers deserve better reliability from us as a company, and we are 100% committed to providing that type of reliability performance that they expect.
Customers say they're waiting on the day they actually see results of the investments.
I would love to speak to them personally about this particular area because it's a problem. And it's been a problem for, like I said, almost 30 years.
In Westland, Whitney Burney, 7 News Detroit.
Whitney, thank you. And June starts this weekend, and June is one of, if not our busiest months for storms around here. Outside right now, a nice look downtown at a gorgeous day. Sunshine, 72, room temperature out there. Look at the humidity, 26%. Dew points in the 30s. That will mean another cool night again tonight. We have a north wind now at 8 miles an hour to be pretty light from this point on through the overnight. 72 in Detroit, 70 in Ann Arbor, 66 in Mount Clemens, only 63 in Port Huron versus 70 in Flint. It's not about being north, it's about being near the lake. With a little breeze off the lake, it has been cooler today. But all of these temperatures are on the plus side. So in Detroit, we're 6 degrees warmer now than the same time yesterday. Our rising trend works all the way through the weekend. Great clear skies across the Great Lakes. Here's the next weather maker. It will be a few clouds for us out of that late tomorrow in the afternoon. Then on Saturday afternoon, it could be a few showers late in the day. High pressure moves away, allows things to start coming at us. Notice the time here. This is Saturday morning. We'll have some sunshine to get started. Clouds will increase. This system fades as another one comes from the southwest. Here's 5 o'clock or so in the evening on Saturday. So late in the day, this starts moving in. It should rain Saturday evening and Saturday night. It just depends on how soon it starts, right? Now, by Sunday, there might be some showers in the morning. By the time we get to lunchtime, that's starting to move away already. So late on Sunday, much of Saturday is still nice, but there may be some rain in both of those days. 48 overnight tonight in Detroit. It was in the upper 30s this morning in a few spots. I don't think we get there, but it's close in Lapeer at 41, Port Huron at 42, 47 in Monroe. Then tomorrow, the dry air warms up nicely again, 76 in Detroit. All the 7s on the map, 77 in a lot of spots. It's sunshine, just again, a few high clouds late in the day. 80 by Sunday, 82 Monday, 84 Tuesday, 83 Wednesday. There's a lot of summer feel here. Again, June starts this weekend, and appropriately, the temperatures start going up. So enjoy the sunshine. A wonderful day tomorrow again, and much of Saturday is nice. Most of the rain's going to be Saturday night, so we'll be okay for a good chunk of the weekend to come. Now we're going to throw it over to see what's going on in sports with Brad Galley.
There is a focus and an excitement brewing, and it's only May. Saying Super Bowl out loud in the final days of this month is a reality for a Lions organization that believes it's turned the corner. Continuity is a big reason why there is so much confidence here. Ben Johnson stayed on as offensive coordinator while other teams wanted him as their head coach. He spoke publicly about his decision for the first time.
Right after the championship game, he got on the plane, and the thing about something that coach had said,
So 2021 and early part of 2022, he had made this analogy to the team. We were sailing down the ocean, and at that moment, we were in the Arctic. We were hitting the icebergs. We had the storms going on. I mean, those were dark days. But he had the foresight, he had the vision of where we were going and where we were heading. You know, and I'm sitting on the plane, I'm thinking back to that, and just the story of my career has been living in that Arctic for a lot of it. That was the second time I've been to the playoffs. The first time I'd experienced winning games in the playoffs. I think when it boils down to it, I wanted the sunshine a little bit longer.
Am I surprised? No. Only because... But I wouldn't have been surprised had he taken one, too. It's a good vibe right now, so, you know, why not live it to the fullest, and then the next thing will be the next thing.
Yes, it is May, but the drive to play deep into the postseason into February is well underway.
I certainly know what it feels like to get there and fall a little bit short, and we're going to have to push a little bit harder. It's going to take a little bit more. I'm sure you've heard Coach Campbell saying that in his press conferences here, that it's going to take more this year, and it will.
You think about it, you wonder if we would have won that game, would we have won the Super Bowl? You can always ask those questions, but I feel like having that experience now from our young team going that far in the playoffs is only going to serve us in the future.
Dan Campbell was asked if there's one player whose new body build perhaps stands out more than anyone else. Campbell looked back at last year and said, "You mean like Aleem McNeil, who came back to us in the spring last year looking like an underwear model?" "I want to say Frank," Campbell said, speaking of Frank Ragnow. He said, "Just because I want to say Frank." 10 minutes later, Ben Johnson walked into the room and said, "Have you guys seen Frank Ragnow?" There is certainly a sense of this team enjoying the ride, even in May. In Allen Park, Brad Galley, 7 News Detroit.
Like an underwear model?
We have a lot of expectations this year. I don't know if that was one of them.
We're so excited legitimately in May to see what's going to come 4 months from now.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
A lot of optimism. As always, thanks for watching 7 News Detroit at 6.
World News Tonight with David Muir is next.
Followed by 7 News Detroit at 7. Have a great night.